is up, everybody? It is Martin's YouTube, and also Merry Christmas, everybody. In this video, I'm going to be ranking every single snow track from the Mario Kart series, including the arcade titles. I'll also be ranking each track depending on what game they came from, like how Merry Mountain is in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I'll be ranking that as the Mario Kart Tour version instead of the Switch version. And I think you guys got that all down. And with all that said, let's rank them. 15. Vanilla Lake 2, the track with the stupid ice blocks. This track is fairly simple, coming from the game Super Mario Kart, which released in 1992. The track is just a circle. That's it. 5 laps of driving in a circle with the stupid ice blocks on top of that. This track is definitely super simple, but it can definitely be interchanged with my next pick being number 14, Vanilla Lake 1. Again, these tracks are so similar, I thought about maybe ranking them as one whole track, but I decided to just go with 2 different tracks since they are different. But this one is a little better just because the ice blocks are not as dreadful as the second Vanilla Lake. But still, this is just a circle again for 5 laps. And yeah, there's nothing too much to say about this track since it's super plain, and it's definitely not that great of a snow track. Number 13, Snow Panic. And yeah, I bet half of you guys are thinking, what even is this track? And yeah, most of you guys probably didn't even know this track existed. This is a track from the Mario Kart arcade series, and I think that this is from the first game, and I think it's in another game, but who really cares because nobody's gonna play these. Unless you go to your local arcade, and if they have the machine as well. And yeah, this machine is hard to find. It usually has the GP Deluxe machine, and yeah, whatever. Now this track is not hardly snow, so it's ranked so low because only a small section of the track is actually snow. Like, I included it as a snow track on the list so that all you guys didn't have to go down in the comments and be like, where's Snow Panic from the Mario Kart arcade series? And then I'd have to make up some random response to why I don't have it in my video. But yeah, this track is pretty bad, and most of you guys will probably not play this track. And it's only snow for such a small part of the track that it's really low. I think if it was more snow on the track, it would have got a higher placement. But yeah, this is the track, and that's why it's so low on the list. Number 12, Snowland. The only snow track to be released in the game Mario Kart Super Circuit for the Game Boy Advance back in 2001. This track is a fun track, especially with the remake on the Switch, but we're not talking about remakes, we're just talking about original tracks, so this track is not as great. It's kind of like the SNES tracks, because this game feels a lot like the SNES game and the N64, but I mean, this track is kind of boring. The only thing that makes it a little unique is like the background is pretty cool, and then they got these snowmen on the sides, and also the screen shakes like crazy during this race. I don't know why, but it just does. But this track is fine, definitely not that great though compared to most of the other tracks coming up later in the video. Number 11, Sherbet Land N64. This Sherbet Land is fine, just a little plain. I do gotta say though, I love the giant penguin on the island, and I always wished I could just get on that island and be with him, but sadly, that's not possible. Being on the N64 though, it is a cool track, and I do love the snow tracks. I like the part where you go in the cave and then have to avoid all the penguins. I think that's a cool part too. I also like the music of this track. I think it's a nice snow theme, and I actually think this is one of my favorite music pieces for a snow theme Mario Kart track. I do gotta say though, I think maybe something could have been added to make this track a little more unique. I get the cave is cool, but this track just feels really plain when you're outside of it. I guess they got like the penguin sliding around, and that's really cute and all, but I feel like if they added maybe just one more element to the track, it could have made it a better experience and also made it higher on my list. Number 10, Frappe Snowland. Another N64 track, but I do think this one is a little better than Sherbet Land. This track is a night theme, which I always like in the snow themed tracks. I think it's cool when it's a night themed track, and they got a bunch of assets to this track, like there's like a giant Mario and Yoshi sculpture and the snow, and I don't know, I feel like it's always a fun time when racing on this track. But I do gotta say, it's this low on my list because it is a pretty plain track. There's not that many obstacles other than the snowmen that are blocking your path throughout the race, but that's really all that's interesting about this track. Then there is this ice wall section, but that's really all this track is. It's kind of short too, but it is still a fun experience. But I do gotta say, it is not the best snow track, and it does definitely feel plain sometimes. Number 9, Merry Mountain. This track being in Mario Kart Tour, probably the worst Mario Kart game, makes it lower in my ranking than as if I was ranking it on the Switch. This track is fun and all, and it has a cool Christmassy theme, and I think it's awesome that they have a Christmas themed Mario Kart track. This track is just okay. I like the tracks better with all the ramps and like the tricks that you can do to get a high score and stuff, but I mean, it's a mobile game, so this track is not that great. The track's theme is amazing, and it's so cool that we got this in the Booster Course Pass, but coming from Mario Kart Tour, the tracks were not as good because the game was a mobile game. I feel like this track had more potential than what it is, and I feel like it's a good track, but just not as good as the next ones that are coming up on the list. Number 8, Vancouver Velocity. And yes, I know what a lot of you might be thinking. How is this a snow track? But look, there's snow on the ground, so I'm including it in my video. This is a pretty cool city track, and actually probably one of my favorites, as I love the aesthetic of this track, and I think each lap just gets better and better as you drive around through the city. It is an amazing track, and there's 3 different parts of the track. Vancouver Velocity 1 has you driving up a bridge and then down through the city. Vancouver Velocity 2 has you driving into an ice rink, which I think is amazing since ice hockey is a popular sport in Vancouver and just Canada in general, and then has you driving into a forest before making your way back into the city. And Vancouver Velocity 3 leads you through this tunnel, which then takes you to the same ice hockey rink and then back to where you started. I think these tracks are incredibly cool, definitely one of the best city tracks, and I love how the Booster Course Pass combined all of them so all the assets could be in one track. This is a really cool city track, but not the best snow track, and definitely not close to number 1 on this list, which we will get to in a little bit, so stick around to the end. Number 7, Animal Crossing Winter. And in my opinion, the best Animal Crossing version is the winter one, so yeah, this is a really fun track, and I also really love the music. It's the one playing in the background that you can hear right now if you listen closely, and yes, this is just such a fun track. Like, it brings a lot of joy when playing it, and I feel like I never get the winter one for some reason, but it is always such a joy when I get it. This track is so fun, and I really love, like, the night aesthetic. I think I've already said that before, but I love the northern lights that you can see throughout the track, and all, like, the lights in, like, the town. It looks so great, and this is definitely a really awesome track, and I do think that it looks best in winter. Number 6, Rosalina's Ice World. This track is a pretty cool track, but I've never actually really loved it. Until more recently, I actually started liking this more because it's come to the Booster Course Pass, and I've played it a little more than I used to, but this is a fine track. And this track is an icy world, as shown in the name. I do really like the underwater section, though. I think that's cool, and I like the little penguins swimming around down there. I think that's cute. And also, like, there's the cave with the icicles that are hazards, which I think is also a little cool. And I also like how you can see objects from Mario Galaxy throughout it, like the Toad rocket ship and the planets in the background, and even part of the observatory, which I have no idea how or why, but okay. This is an okay track, but definitely not the best. Number 5, Ice Ice Outpost. Now that we've made it to the top 5, most of the tracks here are going to be really good tracks. And coming in at 5, we have Ice Ice Outpost. I really like this track and I think it's pretty unique. And I also really like how they have all the shortcuts throughout it with like jumping on top of the ice. I think that's really cool. It's a pretty cool track, but also kind of short, to be honest. Like, I really feel like when I play a race in this track, it goes by pretty quickly. But I do love like the glaciers, like those tall glaciers that you can see throughout the track. I think that gives it like a unique feel and like something that we haven't had in a Mario Kart course. And I also love how you can see like the glaciers falling as well, and like the tunnel with the glaciers is just, it all just looks so good, and that's why it comes in at number 5. Number 4, DK Pass. I really like the idea for this track where you gradually ascend the mountain of snow and then you descend back down to the starting line. I think this is a really cool track. But if I made this video back in the day, I would not have had this track this high on the list. I originally didn't think too highly of this track. I just thought it was like a plain snow track where you climb a mountain and that's all you do. But now that I've actually like started to play this track in multiple games, I am starting to like it more. This track is really unique and I definitely think it's good, but it just does not make its way into the top 3. Number 3, Sherbetland GCN, the first track in the top 3 of my list. And a lot of you might be thinking, why is this track ranked so high? Because most people just find this track okay and not to be really fun. But I, for one, actually really like this track. I really like racing around in Double Dash, and I think this track is just super fun. I love the ice theme, and like I've already said, I really like the nighttime ice tracks. I think this one just like pulls it off super well, and I just love the aesthetic of it. I love like the ice blocks throughout the course and the freezies that can freeze you, and even like the ice tunnel with like those weird faces blowing the snow just bring you happiness every time you play this track. That's why it's number 3 on my list. Number 2, Mount Wario. This track is amazing. It has you jumping out of a helicopter to descending down this mountain into a waterfall that leads you into a dam, down into a forest, and out onto a ski slope, which where you glide to the finish line. This track is amazing and has so much going for it. It is such a good snow track. They really knocked it out of the park with this track. It is an amazing, really awesome track with some really cool shortcuts as well. I really like this track. Ever since the first time I played this track, I knew this was one of my favorite Mario Kart tracks. It's super unique. This track is amazing, having so many different aspects. It just really is an incredible track, and Nintendo did an amazing job with this one. It is nothing short of a masterpiece. Number 1, DK Summit. This is definitely the best snow track, without a doubt, in Mario Kart. This is such an amazing track that a lot of people love. It came back to the Booster Course Pass, which is amazing. I was really actually excited for this track because it is one of my favorite tracks. DK Summit is super cool. It has you launching up onto a mountain, and then you descend the mountain, and then they have that awesome gap cut, which like every YouTuber and Mario Kart player does. And yes, this is just an amazing track. I also really like the part with the half pipe with like the Shy Guys on snowboards. That's awesome too. This is a really great track, and yes, it is definitely, without a doubt, my favorite snow track in all of Mario Kart. Well, there you have it, guys. That is my opinion on every snow track in Mario Kart ranked worst to best. Thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all the Super Mario and Nintendo content in general that gets posted on my channel. This is the last video of the year, so thank you guys so much for watching and being a part of the channel for this year. It really means a lot to me, so thank you guys. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year's, and this is Martin's YouTube signing off. See you guys next year. Peace.